All right, let's talk about how to measure decimals. What is a decimal? So some things that we really need to think about as we start measuring decimals and start working with decimals is that we really need to understand what a place is. What does it mean when we talk about places in math? We're also going to talk about how to convert fractions to decimals or vice versa. Being able to be fluent with both of these systems, both fractions and decimals, is going to make us better mechanics and welders. All right, so the power of places. The nice thing about the Arabic system of numbers that we use is it's all base 10. So the nice thing about it is the value of a digit is just really affected by where we place it, right? The place is basically that distance from a decimal point. So for instance, and each of those places has its own value. So we're going to look at an example of that, but we're used to doing this already, even if you don't put that sort of thought into it every day. So let me give you an example, and you might have seen these a while back. This is an example showing you a bunch of digits. There's a whole stream of digits here, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 6, 5.1427, right? Without the decimal place, these is just a random string of digits, right? The place, the location of those digits tells us what each of them is worth. So looking at this, I could say, okay, this 3 is not just 3, right? Because of its location, it's actually 300 thousandths, right? Now, the really important thing to remember here, so that we remember this and we don't have to keep looking back and forth, is how do we figure out the pattern, right? A lot of students don't have any trouble when it comes to whole numbers, right? When we're out here, if I wrote the number and I just covered up this part here, the 0.1427, I know that you could tell me what the value of that number is, right? You could read that out loud probably very easily. The hard part here, the tricky part, looking at these, I want you to take a look. I want you to pause the video right here. Seriously, pause it and see if you can tell me what this pattern is. All right, so I'm going to tell you. There's the secret. The pattern is, if you look here at 1, as you go this way, you have tens, and you also have tenths. You have hundreds, and you also have hundredths. You have thousands, and you have thousandths. You see how there's a pattern? If 1 is right here in the middle, as we go this way, we're getting closer to the 10, we get bigger. And as we go this way, we get smaller. And the patterns are the same. We're starting at 1, we have tenths, and we have tens. We have hundreds, and we have hundredths. We have thousands, and we have thousandths, right? Those patterns repeat. So if you know what's going on over here, you can go backwards over to the right and figure out what's happening in the decimal side. This is a really important thing that we need to think about, especially as we start doing precision work as welders and mechanics and aviation mechanics even. It's especially important for aviation because the tolerances sometimes are much, much tighter. What does this 1.1 inch and 1.10 inches, what do they have in common? And a lot of students go, well, this 0 doesn't mean anything. And that's somewhat true, right? If I was measuring this and I didn't care about precision at all, those two numbers would be the same, right? This 0, this trailing 0 at the end doesn't affect our number, but it does tell me if I see this on a technical document and it asks for a measurement of 1.10, it needs a more accurate estimate, a measurement and cutting or whatever process I'm using here needs to be more accurate than what I would do with a 1.1 inch gap, right? If I told you to cut me a 1 inch slab of steel, it would be very different than asking for a 1.000 inch piece of steel, right? I'm asking you to be very precise here in that measurement and that cutting process, right? It tells us about precision, right? What is precision? Precision is basically how accurate our measurement is. How close are we to reality, right? Accuracy, when we talk about measurements, is more about the measurements all being similar. Accurate people, when they go, if you go shooting, it's kind of like shooting. If you go shooting and you line up with a target and your bullets all end up in the same place, you're very accurate, but you're not precise because you're not hitting the bullseye. So you might have to modify your sight to get back to being precise. Reality is we want both of those things, but if we can have one, precision is often better because we can change our estimate if we have something reliable measurement. All right.